To order the meeting. Roll call.
Commission members Brown, Fuller,
Present.
Gapel, Greer,
Present.
Harris,
Present.
Chairman Vieira.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd now like to invite Pastor Rich for our invocation. Please stand.
Father in heaven, we thank you so much for your concern for our city here. And Lord, we acknowledge that you are the King of heaven and earth. And so we come to you asking for your wisdom and your discernment as this commission of criminal justice oversees these decisions and looks at the agenda here today, that things might be done decently and in order, and that you would be glorified. We thank you that you're welcome here. In Jesus' name, amen.
You can please remain standing, and we'll go ahead and salute our flag. Please place your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we're going to start off with presentations. Mr. Marvin Christ and Tim, this is in recognition of Emergency Preparedness Month and their commitment to the AV CERT. So if we could just step right down here.
Mr. Chairman, could you come down with me? We have a couple people today that we're going to recognize. So before we get started, Scott, could we have you come down? Scott Pogar from the Fire Department and Tim Fuller from the Criminal Justice Commission. I've known these two gentlemen for several years now. Tim a little bit longer, but we got together probably 4 or 5 years ago, and they were very active in starting CERT, which is a emergency response team for it. The fire department and the sheriff's department both do CERT certificates. Tim came to me. He asked if we could get together with different people throughout the community and support it. These two gentlemen have done trailers, have done, you've gone to different organizations such as Walmart, got right, but didn't you get smoke detectors for the community? You got the community to do everything for you. So I'll let Scott talk a little bit about CERT itself, but we just wanted to make a presentation and say thank you for what you guys have done for the community, and we really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
We're going to present a couple of certificates. The first one, this again being from the City of Lancaster, in appreciation to Captain Scott Polgar, and I'll just take a liberty to read this real quick. In appreciation for your dedicated service, providing training and the necessary tools to the volunteers of the Antelope Valley Community Emergency Response Team, the Lancaster City Council commends you for your instrumental contributions and support. Thank you very much. And ditto with Mr. Fuller. Again, thank you for all your services, Tim. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. If we could get both of you to just give a brief talk on what CERT is and how the community responds with it.
Well, good morning. It's quite an honor to be here today. The Community Emergency Response team is actually a very integral part of the City of Lancaster. We've had unwavering support from the City of Lancaster in terms of its Neighborhood Watch program, integrating CERT, the disaster preparedness components into what has normally been a law enforcement and Neighborhood Watch program. And what a perfect venue and what a perfect way to integrate this into the community. There's more threats that face the community than just criminal activity. And as we start going into all hazard mitigation of fires and floods and earthquakes and terrorism, we realize the fact that we are vulnerable as a community. And in the Antelope Valley, we've trained over 4,000 people in the Community Emergency Response Training Curriculum, which is 20 hours of FEMA-based education. And basically, we teach people how to take care of themselves because we realize there's a finite number of firefighters and law enforcement officials out in our communities. And if we can train people to take care of themselves in that interim, from the time that disaster strikes until the time of the first arriving firefighters or law enforcement officials, we've basically taught those people to fish, if you will. Rather than feeding them fish all the time, we teach them to fish. So we're teaching them how to be disaster preparedness aware and ready. And we combine them into neighborhood teams. We combine them so they're working with their family and friends and neighbors and coworkers or people that they worship with. And this is really where the rubber meets the road in disaster preparedness, because as we all know, dwindling budgets in terms of disaster preparedness are being chewed away, and they're putting into other budget holes, if you will. And so if we can teach people how to take care of themselves, we've really made a huge community impact. We've had a lot of community support, the City of Lancaster, private organizations, and I just feel privileged to be a part of such a wonderful community where this is embraced wholeheartedly. So once again, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the recognition. I appreciate it, and it certainly is on representation of a whole lot of volunteers that are out there volunteering their time for CERT. I had the privilege of meeting Captain Polgar sitting in a CERT class a few years ago. That's the way we met. I responded to an advertisement that basically said, do you want to be more prepared in the event of a disaster? And the answer was yes. And as a good leader that he is, it's easy when you teach a class, I think, to go ahead and hand out the certificates and then be done with that group and go on to the next. But Captain Polgar doesn't work that way. Rather, what he will do is set up a group of people who then can become involved in a much deeper level. And like any good leader, he has long coattails. So if you choose to stand behind him, you get caught on those coattails, you just hang on and you go for the ride. But he's put together the Antelope Valley CERT organization here, and is comprised of a group of leaders in each part of our city who run their own meetings, and their group of volunteers that are behind them. So it's an outstanding organization to be involved in, and I'm proud to be associated. So thank you very much.
And again, thank you to Captain Polgar and Tim Fuller. Public business from the floor, agendized items.
You're going to call them after each item, correct?
Yes.
Or do you want to discuss each item first?
No, those items will be called when that agenda,
Okay.
after that agenda item has been discussed.
This is the time for citizens who would like to address the Criminal Justice Commission on any agendized item. Please complete a speaker card and identify the agenda item you would like to discuss. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. When you approach the podium, please notice there are 3 lights. When the green light comes on when you begin, the yellow light will come on when you have 30 seconds remaining, and the red light will come on when your 3 minutes are up. We ask that you be considerate of the allotted time to allow other speakers to have their 3 minutes as well.
Thank you, Brent. Okay, we'll move on to consent calendar, approval of the minutes. Commissioners, did you get a chance to take a look at those minutes? Any questions, comments, clarifications? If not, I'll ask for the question, call for the question.
I move that we approve the minutes from the August 10th Criminal Justice Commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Let's vote. Okay, unanimous. Move on to staff presentations, updates, reports, monthly crime stats. Jim Cobalt.
Thank you, Commissioner Vieira and Chairman Vieira and Commissioners. Just in quick review, I wanted to remind you that the reports are now, I try to get those on the evening before we have our commission meeting. To find those reports, you can go to Public Safety on the city website. Then click on Crime Maps and Information. Scroll down, and there is a link for Monthly Criminal Justice Commission maps and preliminary crime data. This month report covers the time period from August 7th to September 10th, 2011. we are seeing in the data essentially what we forecasted back in July, and that was we'd see a little bit of a spike around the time of the Antelope Valley Fair, and then things would begin to decline after that. You can see in the ranges of weeks from week 32 to week 36, we hit a peak in about week 32 with 89 geocoded Part 1 crimes. And then we begin to see the decline about week 34 to week 35 and week 36, where we begin the decline of Part 1 crimes and kind of go back to where we are normally. Within the scope of arrests, we see the total arrest range. The last couple of weeks on there are kind of incomplete data, so we only have 3 weeks of what we'd consider really complete data, and they range from about 263 to 225 at the low. And you can see the ranges for Part 1 crime arrests in there are fairly consistent. As we take a look at weekly Part 1 weekly crime event averages and medians in the measurement period, we can begin to see the decline that we talked about after the Antelope Valley Fair. Our averages now are coming back down. Our weekly average was 72.2, and our weekly median was 71. When we get to the reporting districts or the most active reporting districts, we have 1137, 1135, 1126, 1132, and 1127. Take a look at those different reporting districts just for a minute. So we look at 1137, we can see that there's kind of a concentration of Part 1 criminal activity over here between Challenger Way, 20th Street East, from J down to K. This entire area in here, we see that's where a lot of the activity was in this particular area. So when we talk about 1137, we're not, while we're talking about a big geographic area, again, we're talking about really about a square mile where a significant portion of the crime happens. And then we can also begin to see the impact again of Avenue J. Now, one of the things in our data that we looked at last week in our meeting with the Sheriff's Department is a lot of the Part 1 crime activity that we're seeing right now is either within or within a fairly close proximity to apartment complexes and mobile home parks. And as we take a look at that, it's something interesting for us to look at. We've been working with some theories of population and depopulation and things like that internally. And one of the things that we want to think about, we've begun to talk about internally within public safety, is getting out and providing more landlord training, because if we find ourselves in a role where we're repopulating, we want to make sure that the landlords, particularly of the larger apartment and the more problematic apartment complexes that we have, get the information they need so that they can properly screen the applicants before they move in and end up becoming issues for us later on. Moving on to 1135, which is just north of 1137, and within this blue area or shaded area here, we can see again a large portion of the crimes that are along this area are along and within a few blocks of Avenue J. And of course, you can see the large concentration of apartments down here, and you can see the red and orange areas just bend right around those apartment complexes down there. (1126) moves over to the other side of Sierra Highway and kind of follows a path along State Route 14. Goes from Avenue J down to M, and from 10th Street over to 20th Street West. And again, as we take a look at the density map that we have, we can see how things kind of come right along that area of Avenue K and 10th Street West. And the density kind of extends from the apartments over here on Gadsden over to the apartments on the other side of the complex, or the other side of the freeway, over particularly around J8. These apartments have continually been problematic for us, and again, you can see through the density simply the amount of activity, particularly the property crimes that occur in that area. Moving on to 1132, you can see also the impact of Avenue J down along here. And within a few blocks of Avenue J, we tend to see the activity. When we get further north up towards Avenue I, over on the east side just a little bit, we have a little bit of burglary activity. But you can see the primary density is right down here, just north and within a few blocks of Avenue J again. Finally, 1127 is the area between J and K west of 10th Street West. And while we have a little bit of activity down here in the area south of Avenue J, you can see a large part of the heaviest density is in the area up here along Valley Central Way. Valley Central Way continues to be an area of higher levels of crimes against property, both larceny and non-residential burglary areas. When we take a look at residence burglary, we can see that 1132 and 1137 led the way with 13 residential burglaries. 1135, most of these areas we've already seen. 1135 followed with 10 residential burglaries, followed by 1131 and 1123. Larcenies involving vehicles. I didn't do the breakdown this month because of time considerations, but you can see, again, 1123, 1124, 1137, and so on. As we take a look at our 52-week trends, and of course, I think one of the things that we have to think about when we look at these trends, the Sheriff's Department tends to look at the data from the end of a reporting period to the end of another reporting period. And that gives us a good summary of the way the data is performing. What I try to do with these trends is I try to give you another way of looking at the data and showing you what's going on inside the numbers from that reporting period, that last reporting period to the end of the current reporting period, so that you can see from week to week how things are going and what things look like for us. So that's kind of the difference between the way the Sheriff's Department looks at the data and the way that we present it here. It kind of shows you what's going on inside the numbers. As we start with the Part 1 crimes that are trending up, we see residential burglary on there. And what we can see is within the scope of residential burglary, you can see over the past 52 weeks, the trend right now is we're getting closer to this baseline, and our baseline weekly in Lancaster, we historically have run about 24 burglaries, period, residential and non-residential, per week. Now, over the last several years, we've been able to stay pretty much below that average. Bear in mind, this average calculates data going back to 1997. So there's some higher years in here or in calculating that baseline. But the thing that we're looking at right now is we're starting to get to that point where we're moving from, at the beginning of the year, we were averaging around 16 residential burglaries per week. We're starting to get pretty close to that 20 mark, and we can see again that the baseline is 24.13. So it's something that we need to pay attention to. Again, as we think about the way that we fill up some of the vacant homes that are out there and the way that we fill up some of the vacant apartments and those kinds of things. It's incumbent upon everybody in the community to do their due diligence when it comes to making sure people are able to afford the areas they're getting into and become good members of the community. As we take a look at larceny, we can see a similar upward trend. In fact, you can see in some of the more recent weeks we've been spiking up just a little bit. Again, we actually have a few weeks where we've broken over our baseline, and our baseline for larceny is roughly just a little over 40 per week. So we can take a look at that and see what's going down. Now, one of the things we want to consider in that is the impact of the Antelope Valley Fair again. We tend to see things like burglary, larceny, and some assaults spike up during that time of the year. There's probably a lot of theories as to why that happens. I would tend to think we tend to get more people located physically in Lancaster during that fair than we do during many other times of the year. People come and visit, stay with relatives, go to the fair. People come up from Palmdale and those kinds of things, and actually are present in Lancaster. So with that elevation in population, we tend to probably see a few more Part 1 crimes during this time period than other time periods. The other thing that we see trending upward just a little bit is grand theft auto. And when we take a look at that, you can see the trend line going up. And again, Lancaster continues with grand theft auto. One of the trends that we've seen historically as long as the city's been collecting data, and that is we'll hit a peak or a spike, and then we'll go back down, and then we'll go back up again just with a peak and a spike. Again, as you take a look at auto theft within the scope of Lancaster, we recover most of our vehicles here. And so it's interesting to take a look at and to try to explain why that might be happening. Arson has a slight trend up, but bear in mind, again, arson is a very low frequency crime for us, so just a couple arsons can cause that to appear like something's happening when it really may not be. As we look at the crimes that are trending flat right now, rape is one of the crimes that is trending flat. Robbery is also trending flat right now. The Sheriff's Department has really had a focus in the last few months on robbery, and we're beginning to see the effect of that. And our trend line is also below the baseline, so that's good news for us as well. We take a look at assault. Assault is trending down, trending flat, but we've had some really good progress with the assault in the last few weeks as well. And then we have our density map that we historically have shared with you. Again, this is available for you in the city website if you want it. We also have the spatial trend analysis map and our forecast for the month of September. We can see within the scope of the forecast some of the areas that we've talked about today, 1135, 1137. We see a little bit of an uptick, or we're forecasting a little bit of an uptick in 1121. Last month, I believe 1121 was orange or yellow. 1127 and 1125, again, these are all areas that we looked at today. So we take a look at our frequency of calls for service. We can see the trend line continues up for calls for service. And this particular one doesn't go back a full 52 weeks. We just take this back to the beginning of the year to take a look at it and see how our calls for service are trending. But again, if we think about the way that we are populating and everything else and filling some of the vacant space that is currently in the community, this could be another indicator that might actually be going on right now as these calls for service or calls for law enforcement service increase. And then we also have our repeat call report, and The only big change on here, I would say, is we did have a single-family residence on Carroll side pop up on here with 11 calls for service within this four-week reporting period. We still see the Morel Group Home, or one of the Morel Group Homes on here, and everything else is pretty consistent with items that have been on the list before. That pretty much takes care of my report. I'd open it up for questions.
Yeah, last year we discussed a lot about Lancaster Boulevard and the redevelopment of that, and with all the events starting again next month, do we have any data on how safe Lancaster Boulevard is?
One of the things that we capture for the Sheriff's Department and put on their drive every week is a map, a Part 1 crime map that goes about 1 block north of Lancaster Boulevard and one block south. We take it from 10th Street West over to about Division. And last week we had, I believe, 3 Part 1 crimes in that. But generally speaking, the number is very low. Sometimes we can't even generate a map because there's absolutely no Part 1 crimes in the area. So, I mean, the frequency of Part 1 crimes in the area is virtually non-existent.
Is that trending down, or was that about the same?
That's been consistent. That's been consistent as long as we've been generating the maps for them, which is about probably 3 months now.
Okay, thank you.
No other questions? Okay. Item number 2, arrest stats. Is Sergeant Kreger here today? Or? Oh, so I'm sorry, Sergeant Silvies.
And while that's coming up, Jim brought up that house on Carroll side with the numerous calls for service. First take, I was thinking maybe as a group home, sober living type home. What it came down to was a domestic violence, ongoing restraining orders, uncooperative ex-husband. So we're continually going back trying to enforce the restraining order that's been served on the ex-husband. And as we know, that's not always a fix-all to the problem, but that's why we have the, I think it was the 11 to 12 calls within that short period of time there. With the Part 1 crimes in the city over the last week, or excuse me, the month, we do have an increase. I can't see the bottom of that. We have an increase of 23 arrests over this last month, was significant with the larcenies and the robberies. We've had a major increase there. With the robberies, there has been some larger, like robbery type groups that were going out committing numerous robberies involving like 4 or 5 suspects. We've been able to start identifying them, bringing up our robbery arrest stats. Same thing with the larcenies. A lot of it is related to the metal thefts. With the air conditioning units of the vacant homes and whatnot, we're still hitting that pretty hard with the property crimes from Detective Bureau. Part 2 crimes, again, we are up again from last month by 10 arrests. Nothing real dramatic, no big changes going on there. The vehicle laws, quite a few there. What really impacts our Part 2 crimes is our DUI checkpoints. When traffic services and our traffic detail run several DUI checkpoints within a month, that will really increase our Part 2 crimes with the unlicensed drivers. Next one, Jim. Compared to the other patrol stations that are similar to what we have here in Lancaster, with the Part 1s, we are basically right in line with Palmdale, Lakewood. With the Part 1s, the Part 2s, again, we're running up, we're pretty high. I think we run second to Century Station with the Part 2s. And your Part 2s are normally going to be your observation arrest. What's the patrol deputies doing when they have some free time? Our special teams, what are they going out and what are they doing? What are they bringing in? So that's going to be a direct reflection upon our proactivity that's going on in the field. This is kind of a graph that just shows where we are throughout the month. We're staying pretty consistent month to month with our arrests. And that's both with the Part 1s and the Part 2s. There's no dramatic changes. It kind of just goes, summertime things are going to go up, holidays things are going to go up. And again, it's pretty similar all throughout the year. That's it. Any questions?
I just have one. You mentioned that the robberies are up and there was a group or gang or whatever, but there's some people associated that were doing some of these. Are these primarily of businesses or are these strong-arm robberies?
Most of the robberies we've been seeing lately are more the street robberies, the strong-arm robberies that are taking place on the way to school, on the way from, or on the way home. They're, just like iPods, cell phones, that type of robberies. And it's usually it's been like juveniles committing these crimes, and they act within a larger group when they commit these types of crimes, using more fear than anything else. And that kind of will trend with the school year. With school getting up and running, those will kind of start peaking a little bit. And when we make arrests, there'll be 3-4 juveniles arrested for that. So you will start seeing some spikes in the rise in the robbery arrests.
Thank you.
When those arrests take place with those juveniles, do you notify the school of that and work in coordination with them, whether it be on the way to school or way home?
I don't know. It probably depends on who's making the arrest. I don't have an answer. I know if the school deputies are involved, then there will be some notifications. If it's done by patrol and handled by Detective Bureau, we might lack in those notifications. But that's something we'll look into and make sure that is being addressed and brought up to the school districts.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sergeant Silvius. We do have one speaker card under agenda item number 2, David G.
Stop robbing people, robbers. It's a bad thing to do. Everything is trending up. That's what I see. Everything's always trending up, and there's always some excuse why it's trending up, and now it's the fair. So, quality arrests. I know I remember I've had a conversation with an LP, loss prevention, and some guy got caught shoplifting. He was charged for robbery. I don't know if that's a good charge for anybody, but I'm just here to speak. I got to wake up because it's early in the morning. I didn't expect to come here today, but I feel privileged to speak, even though this is my right. And the privilege is actually you guys sitting on them seats. So I look forward to speaking at the public safety number 7. Thank you.
Okay, California Highway Patrol update, Captain Urea.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to take this opportunity to introduce our new lieutenant to Antelope Valley, Lieutenant Rob Lund. Just joined us this month, and he took Paul Schaefer's spot. So anytime that I'm not available to be here, Rob will be filling in for me. And as far as statistics go, fortunately, we're actually down on fatalities from the previous month. We had absolutely no fatalities during the month of August. Our injury collisions are also down, as well as our property damage only collisions, and that's throughout our area of responsibility. As far as speed being a primary collision factor in collisions, Injury collisions were down from 11 from the previous month in July. Through August, we only had 8. Property damage only collisions were up by just a couple from the previous reporting period. DUI-related collisions as a primary collision factor, we had 0 for August. Fortunately, 0 fatalities for August. Injuries, we were down significantly from 9 to 2, and property damage only was also down for PCF. DUI arrests were down from the previous month, down to 63, from 89 from the previous month. Seatbelt enforcement is up. The awareness is up for us, as well as child restraint seats remained about the same for violations. This month, the California Highway Patrol in Los Angeles County is focusing on distracted drivers. It's a period from the 5th of this month through the 19th. Yesterday, we had an enforcement day. We just sent out a couple of people for distracted drivers, and that could be anything from cell phone usage to looking for songs on your iPod. Just being distracted and not doing what you're supposed to be doing is basically driving and being aware. We had 27 citations for that. That was just for yesterday. So the focus is there for public safety. We have no DUI checkpoints planned for the near future for at least this month, and that's about all we have for today.
Any questions?
Questions?
Congratulations on the 0 fatalities.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you, Captain. District Attorney update. I don't see the Deputy District Attorney, Stephen Franklin, here, so we'll move on to number 5. Report on Neighborhood Impact Program. Commissioner Harris.
Good morning. Neighborhood Impact works in the at-risk neighborhoods in the city of Lancaster. So there are 6 churches that are currently working in those particular neighborhoods. So I want to give an update of what it is that we have been doing. We had some kids that we took to the fair so that they could see their artwork that was on display. So that was a really neat thing to do, because some of these kids have never done anything like that. The other thing that we did over the summer was give them school supplies. So they each got a backpack that was full of supplies that had been donated by different people. So that was a great way to get them started with school. The other thing that we're going to do is take them to NASA and to the Getty Center, just to get them exposed to different things. I think one of the things that we've noticed is that these kids have to do a report, say, on the beach, and some of them have never been to the beach. So they've not been to NASA, not been to the Getty Center, so just to be able to expand their horizons beyond that neighborhood that they're living in. The other thing that we're gearing up for is flag football. We had a very successful basketball season as we started the sports league, and we're also gearing up for a cheer clinic. So that's something that we're adding on, so we can have cheerleaders and make sure that the girls get involved as well. And the last thing that we are really gearing up for is getting 1,000 volunteers together to go out and paint Mariposa School in its entirety and finish up Sunnydale School. So these are the kinds of things that we love doing for the community. We can't wait to do it. It's on Saturday, October the 8th, and we're only going to be painting 3 homes in the neighborhood, one of the neighborhoods this year. We're just going to concentrate on the schools and seeing what it is that we can do to make a difference.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. Not only do you make an impact on those young lives that you're talking about, but I know that, put on my school hat, we're going to be the recipient of some of those favors as well at AB High School, in particular in the new year. So, again, thank you for your efforts. Item number 6, Business Watch Subcommittee update. Mr. Jericho.
Yes. First announcements, I've already scheduled a meeting with loss prevention at our 2 stores we've been trying to get together with. We actually have a fixed date and time now. Home Depot will be on September 22nd at 11 o'clock in the morning. That is the Home Depot located at 20th Street West and Avenue J. And then the following week, also on a Thursday, we'll be going to Lowe's at 10th Street West and Avenue K and meeting with their loss prevention staff there as well at 11 o'clock. I'm just going to schedule them and make them consistently at 11 if that works for folks. So hopefully everyone can make it. Again, we're going to tour their facility. We're going to discuss some of the tactics they use in loss prevention, how they report out, and some other public safety issues they have in their parking lots. Then what we're going to do is Megan is actually setting up today is we're creating a Yahoo group similar to the one we have with our neighborhood watch groups, where it's going to be an exclusive Yahoo access group for our Business Watch program members. They'll have to apply to be a member of that group and then be authorized through the Public Safety Office, and then we're going to create that networking database between those retailers and our business community. So if they're having some issue or specific issue at one location, they can network that information or description or what the issues are to the other groups as well to help coordinate that with our larceny efforts out there in the community. As you can see, we're having some numbers related to that, so we want to get ahead of that with these groups. Now, beyond that, this is probably the last two larger retailers. We'll probably move into the smaller retail chains after this point. We have a huge contingent of our small business community that's already a part of this, and we're going to incorporate them into it as well. So there'll be communication on all levels. And that's it.
Very good. Any questions, commissioners? Okay, you want to just move right on into number 7, public safety update. Again, Mr. Dorico.
And what I'd like to do today is Captain Johnson would like to discuss with the Commission some updates on some issues regarding AB 109. And then Lieutenant Nilsen has a couple announcements as well as he'll talk about the LANCAP team. Captain Johnson.
First, just to address maybe some concern over the trending upward of crime, I'd still like to put it in perspective like I did with the last meeting that overall within the city of Lancaster, all Part 1 crimes are down year to date except for robbery, and they're actually down about 10% overall. And if you look back 5 years, every Part 1 crime is down by at least 25%. So there occasionally we will get to that point where it's going to be difficult to continue having declines and we're going to start to flatline, but hopefully that won't be for a few more years. And just to give this commission an update on the robberies and what we're doing, that is definitely a primary focus of ours, is to bring those numbers down as well. Recently, we put together, as of last week, a robbery suppression team. It's modeled after the burglary suppression team, which has had great success over the last couple of years. It includes a sergeant, 2 detectives, and 4 deputies whose primary role will be to respond immediately to robberies and start the investigation right then and there. And that should help us dramatically in quelling some of these teams' ability to go out and continue to do 3, 4 before we catch up to them. So that went into play last week, and I'm hoping to bring down those numbers by the end of the year. Regarding AB 109, obviously this commission is aware of the impact that may have in the Antelope Valley and the city of Lancaster. As of October 1st, I've asked for the lieutenant who's overseeing that for the department from our Cops Bureau. From our side, the suppression side of that impact, obviously probation has been mandated to take the management, but we'll be overseeing the suppression aspects of it. So I've asked the lieutenant that's overseeing that part of it to come to the next commission meeting and provide a detailed briefing on how we're going to go about that and what the department's plans are to address the influx of parolees being released into the area. If there's any questions, I can answer them, but if that's not a problem, I will have that lieutenant here for the October 13th meeting.
I had one question. Is AB 109, is the article I read this weekend, I want to say it was in front of the LA Times, about the release of female prisoners who have dependent family members and have 2 years or less to go, and I guess one of the other criteria was, and had been convicted of a violent crime. The numbers and the releases we're talking about under 109, these female releases different than that now, or is that still part of it?
I actually think that's an offset to, it's not an offset, it's obviously a component to reduce the housing within the state prison system. But to be honest, I'd have to contact the lieutenant to see if we as a department have looked at the impact of that locally, because I know we've already started looking at the impact from the male side in the release of the parolees, but I'm not sure if they've factored in the female side yet.
I can give you some input on that. We just got the information that 4,000 females will be released within the next 2 weeks. I don't know how many that will impact us. Probably a fourth of that will be LA County. They're talking more. They haven't given a number yet for the men that they're going to let out, but that'd probably be within a month to 6 weeks. And as far as the AB 109, the criteria for letting these people off of parole, they've reduced it down to a 6-month discharge review. They're anticipating within the next 6 to 8 months, over 10,000 parolees will be off parole, and they will be free to go wherever they want to go. So that's one of the impacts that we're going to have with AB 109.
Thank you, Captain Johnson. We look forward to that report. We do have one speaker card under agenda item number 7. Oh, I'm sorry, Lieutenant Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to real briefly discuss the August statistics for the Lancaster Community Appreciation Program. The LANCAP team, during the month of August, made just over 100 arrests, served 5 search warrants, and during the course of those search warrants, seized quantities of rock cocaine, some marijuana, methamphetamine, and hydrocodone tablets from various locations. That week, or that month, I should say, was a bit slow. They had several other security details that they were handling over the course of the month. So I suspect that the September statistics will be a little bit higher. They've had some good success already this month. And they will be assisting with the robbery team that the captain is putting together. And that's really about it. We were just discussing the fact that it's been a while since we've had an update on the ABCFI program, and I'll look into seeing if we can get an update for that at the next meeting.
Great. Thank you. Any questions, Commissioners? No? Thank you again. And again, we do have one speaker card on item number 7, David G.
Okay, I got to think. Overall, we're only doing year-to-dates with these statistics, so all you got to do is arrest less people. Like I said, it's not hard to cook the books. It's an easy idea. In regards to the robbery suppression team, it's not a bad idea, as long as it's done with common sense. I mean, I have enough common sense when it comes to the burglary suppression team to see the article in the paper on this elaborate marijuana grow operation in which the burglary suppression team just stumbled upon the smell of marijuana. And in that picture, if you guys are familiar with growing marijuana, which I'm sure you're not, there's a big carbon filter in the back. Very elaborate system. I mean, this system is tip-top. So I doubt, with anybody with common sense that knows how to grow marijuana, knows that they wouldn't smell it outside of a building. So them poking around well, the story behind it just doesn't make sense to me. So, quality arrest, AB 109 is a serious thing. I mean, it's not hard to figure out why the bubble popped. You inflated the probation systems, you inflated the parole systems, you inflated the court system, you inflated, the LA County jail system. You're just making not quality arrests. And I come up here time and time again to talk about quality arrest. And the reason why we have an overpopulation is because we have gung-ho cops that want to just arrest people and overcharge them, scare them before they go to court to get a deal. I can't even, when I get arrested, because it's well known now that I'm a felon, I can't even speak to my family. I can't even afford the phone call. So now when I go to court, there's a penal code that says I can't even talk to my family even through the window. I can't even make a motion. What kind of, I can't even speak to none of them. That's how sad it is. You only get one free phone call when you get to the substation, and that's it. And from that on, it's SOL. So, there's a lot of things that have to change in this community. There's a lot of things that have to change, and it starts with common sense. Okay, we got the public safety manager over here, and this is his little presentation. He assaulted me outside in front of a camera too. Needless to say. Right out front, there is a camera. So you were seen in that camera. Now, if that footage comes missing, then we already know. What happened to it, right? I'm not scared to say it. He assaulted me. I didn't do anything wrong in this meeting yesterday. I've never done anything wrong in any of these meetings. I wait for my time to speak, and you might not like my opinion, but tough cookies. You can either ignore it, or you can choose to lack common sense and make bad judgment calls when it comes to dealing with someone like me. And if I'm a threat, don't fear me. Understand me. Come speak to me. We've all had candid conversations. You know, we've all had it. You've had one with me. You, Mr. Vieira, I haven't had one with you, ma'am.
Thank you. Your time's up.
Thank you. Oh, it's actually, I got 5, 6. Oh, no.
Okay, public business from the floor, non-agendized items.
We request any person who would like to address the Criminal Justice Commission on non-agendized matters to complete a speaker card. You will find speaker cards on the back table of the council chambers. Additionally, we respectfully request that you fill the cards out completely and print as clearly as possible so that if necessary, the commission or city staff will be able to contact you either by phone or by mail. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. When you approach the podium, please notice there are 3 lights. The green light comes on when you begin, the yellow light will come on when you have 30 seconds remaining, and the red light will come on when your 3 minutes are up. State law prohibits the Criminal Justice Commission from taking action on items not on the agenda, and your matter will be referred to staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Britton. We do have 4 speaker cards under non-agendized item. And we'll start out with Shannon Thomas.
Good morning.
Morning.
I had a really tasteless joke that would have been appropriate, but I found something else to say. Last week, I received my criminal justice degree in the mail from the CSU Bakersfield, and along with it, my unemployment slip. So thought that was ironic. The place where I worked for 11 years closed, and well, you know, I'm looking for a job, and so that's why I'll skip past the tasteless joke. Jim Cobalt agreed to provide a lecture for us at the NAACP tomorrow at the LA County Fire Department Training Facility, 42110 South 6th Street West, at 7 o'clock. And for, you know, education is going to be the thing that's going to bring us all together. And so for those of you who decide to show up and listen to his lecture and who have never heard him lecture before, you're welcome, because it really is a treat. The figure with the CHP, they said that the DUI arrests were down from 89 to 63. That blew my mind. I didn't know that so many people are still doing that, especially as expensive that is. But more importantly for me, as much as it will be a burden to have the parolees released into our area so much at one time, it could be a blessing, especially for the academics. It's a rare opportunity that so many parolees will ever be released at this time at one time. We should consider creating a program to try and help, okay, so as to study and track them for the next 3 years, and that could provide us a lot of good data to learn from. I mean, that's how we've developed a lot of our other criminal justice systems based upon study and over time. And it is a rare opportunity that this is going to happen again. So I want to encourage the public to come hear Jim speak, and also just something else to consider as far as parolees. It could be a good thing if we look at it the right way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Congratulations on your degree.
Good luck with the employment, too.
Yeah, tough times. Gary Burgess.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have something here I wanted to say, but I don't want to use too much of my time, but I would like to say that it's refreshing to come to this meeting and to see the number of law enforcement personnel and the city staff and the commissions that are striving to give us a better and safer place to live. Where none of us are perfect. My wife keeps telling me that. And the fact is, we do make mistakes, and the one way to get things the way you want it to be in life rather than complain about it, is to take action to make a legal change about it. So that said, that's off the cuff, which I don't normally do, but I'll go on to what I wanted to say this morning. My name is Gary Burgess, and I'm a resident of Lancaster. A number of weeks back, I attended the meeting where it was mentioned that it would be a plus for the neighborhoods if they were more aware of what's going on in their immediate area. It was discussed that it may be possible that at least a block captain could be made aware of calls for service by the sheriff department, so that if a burglary had taken place, then the block captain could be make their neighborhood aware of the fact and be more diligent in their observations. I asked a city official if I could be informed to the actions that code enforcement were taking in my area, and I was told that this is considered something like personal information and couldn't be divulged. Now, I understand that. So I would like to present to you the question, how can I stay better informed as a block captain so that I can continue to keep my neighborhood safe from the criminal element? I don't know if I read this somewhere, if it just came to me, but the statement, better informed is better armed, seems to apply in this situation. And by armed, I don't necessarily mean with guns. Can the commission suggest a course of action that I might take to be better informed concerning my neighborhood? And you can call me. I think you have my phone number, or contact me by email. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can make a comment on that, one of the things that you have available to you actually is the crime mapping that's available on the website for the City of Lancaster. That's a great tool, and it shows you in the areas where the crimes are taking place and around your neighborhood. There's also a cell phone text messaging service. I think it's called Nixle. You guys aware of that? You have it? Anyway, I have it on my phone, and I wish I had the website for you, but we can look into that. But you can actually have alerts sent to you when there's crimes reported within a certain radius of your home. It will not give you exact addresses for the same reasons, but it'll tell you block of this area. And so that information is generated and sent by text message. So those are two things you can do.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. David Aber.
Can I get my full 3 minutes?
We start the time when your name is called.
Good morning, Commissioners. I notice when you walk in the door here, you can just walk in like a normal person. There's not a bunch of security. And today's paper talks about a suspicious luggage. Big misunderstanding here yesterday. Apparently, somebody left some luggage, and it turned into a big fiasco. I mean, good thing nobody got hurt in this building or anywhere. The mayor made a comment in the paper that who wanted to kill him this week? Okay? And that brings me to the position I'm going to take here. That's the problem that we have here in this town right now. The mayor making statements like this and attacking citizens like he did at last night's meeting. Maybe some of you haven't seen it or heard about it yet. But he accused somebody in this room of stalking his mother, which is egregious. Same thing he accused me of doing back in September when he attacked me, which is totally unfounded. Obviously, I haven't been charged with the crime, and the person he accused of stalking his mother yesterday, I wasn't charged either. We've got a situation where you're all leaders in this community, every one of you. And whether this commission can take action, it's time to stand up. We have a runaway mayor who has admitted he has he's a recovering addict. He hasn't exactly told us what he's recovering from, alcohol, drugs, or whatever. Well, if that's the case, maybe the gentleman's had a relapse. Maybe it would best serve all of us in this room to get him into recovery, because his behavior, his rantings, his ravings, his accusations against the citizens, when we come in here, Mr. Vieira, you don't beat us down after we speak. Mr. Greer doesn't do it either. You guys express, Mr. Fuller speaks out and makes comments, but you don't accuse anybody of stalking anybody in this room, your family, like the mayor did last night. This is totally unacceptable. He appointed each and every one of you. We're citizens in this town, and we can no longer stand by while the mayor runs completely loose. If the man needs medical attention, if he's relapsed, well, then I feel that we all need to help him get into recovery so that the city can recover from what he's done. With Ms. Marquez stepping aside, Mr. Smith doesn't deny freedom of speech anymore, so I am being heard. And Ms. Marquez won't be here anymore to trample on people's freedom of speech rights and discriminate against people. Thank you very much for your time.
And we have one more speaker, David G.
How's it going? Yeah. Just so you know, sir, there's no such thing as a driver's license checkpoint in the country. So we're the first ones to do it. It's unconstitutional. And you swore to uphold the Constitution just like you, Captain. I got dirt on every one of you. It's sad. I mean, it is so sad. Even you, man. It's kind of, you're, oh, man. I'm not fond of you. This is terrible, man. We got the DA over here. They're just pumping up all these charges. I've even gone to jail. I've even gone to prison, excuse me, because I couldn't even fight my case anymore. I even have the minutes to my case. I mean, it's like you can either fight it and be found not guilty and still come to me for the probation violation, and I could still send you up to prison for up to 3 years. So what's the point of even fighting anything in this town? You know? Come on. Our arrests, our statistics, our crime statistics are going down, but our arrest rate is just crazy high. We're arresting people left and right. We're the busiest community. We only have 2% of the population. Come on, this is ridiculous. And I hope that, because you have good intentions. You know, I don't doubt that. Just don't do good things that look bad. Okay, and an apology goes a long way. It really does, you know. And for me to sit in your office, for me to sit there and know the fact that you got a hold of the raw footage of the incident that took place over here on the boulevard, and instead of humbling yourself as a captain, as a right captain, as a good man, you decided to tell me that I shouldn't come up here and speak. Not that I shouldn't, that charges wouldn't be filed against me, okay, if I don't come up here and speak. My unofficial probation. What kind of crap is that? You can't offer me a deal. The only people that can offer me a deal is the DA. Just like when I got arrested that day, and I said the mayor insulted me in public, and I didn't do anything, and we had a candid conversation on, because
David, can you address the chairman?
I'm addressing everybody here. You are all public.
We would appreciate it if you address the
I
chairman.
can address you too as well. Do not interrupt me. I am speaking. Are you going to give me my time back?
No,
I
absolutely
only have
not.
3 minutes. Exactly. So do not address me right now. This is
chairman.
my public comment for the citizens and for every single one of you, because I'm upset now. Okay? I got manhandled by this guy, and I'm not afraid of you one bit, okay? At all. So just get that out of your mind. Like, it's not going to happen. I'll question you. I'll question you on camera. I'll question you anytime I want. In a public forum. I'm not going to go to your house because this is bull crap, man. Common sense here. You guys willing to go down?
Hands up.
I got evidence.
Commissioner comments? Anybody? Okay, hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Next meeting is the 12th of October, 10 a.m. Thank you.